Hello everyone. Welcome to your English class. Today I'll be doing another chapter from your Marigold book. The name of the chapter is Who Will Be Ningthou. This chapter is based on a story from Manipur. So you will find a lot of Manipuri words in this chapter. Let's read out the meanings of these words are given in the chapter itself. Let's begin reading from the book. Who will be Ningthou? A king is called a Ningthou and a queen is called a Lema in Manipuri. This is a story from Manipur about what qualities make a good ruler. So Ningthou basically means a king and a queen is called Lema in Manipuri. And this story is about Manipur, as I've already told you. And these people are trying to find what qualities does a good king or a good ruler requires. Read and enjoy. Long, long ago in the land of Kanglipak in Manipur, there lived a Ningthou and a Lema. They were loved dearly by the people. So this story is from a place called Kanglipak in Manipur, and the people of that place loved their king and queen dearly. The Ningthou and Lema, on their part, never stopped thinking about their Miyam, their people. Our Miyam should be happy, they said. The people were not the only ones who loved their Ningthou and Lema. The birds and animals too loved them. The Ningthou and Lema always said, everybody in Kanglipak should live in peace. Not only the people, but the birds, animals and trees. So as you can see, no wonder we can imagine why the people, the birds, the trees, the animals, everyone loved the king and the queen in Kanglipak. That is because they were really thoughtful about their Miyam, their people. Their beloved king and queen had 3 sons, Sana Jauba, Sana Yaima and Sana Tombi. 12 years later, a daughter was born. She was named Sana Tombi. She was a lovely child, soft and beautiful inside. She was loved by one and all. So the king and the queen had 3 sons, and 12 years later, a daughter was born to them. The daughter was a lovely child. She was soft and beautiful and very kind-hearted, and she was loved by everyone. The years went by and the children grew up well. And then one day, the Ningthou called all his ministers and said, so years passed, the children grew. And then one day, Ningthou called all his ministers and he was about to say something. It is now time to decide the Tungi Ningthou, the future king. The ministers were shocked. But, O Ningthou, what is there to decide? Sana Jauba, your eldest son, will be our future king. Well, the Ningthou replied, that's how it happened in the old days. The eldest son always became the king. But times have changed. So let us select a king who is most worthy of becoming a king. As years went by, the king had become old, and now he wanted to decide who the future king of Kanglipak would be. So the ministers were in shock. They wondered and asked the king, what was there to decide? Because normally the eldest son was crowned as the king. So this time the king said, that is how it happened in the old days. The eldest son was always selected as the king. But now the times have changed. So let us select that person who is most worthy of becoming a king. Most worthy means who deserves it the most. We will have a contest to select the future king, the Lima said. And so, in the land of Kanglipak, there was a contest, a horse race. Whoever reached the Kongnag, the banyan tree, first would be declared Tungi Ningthou. The queen declared that they are going to have a contest, which was a horse race. And whoever reached the banyan tree the earliest would be declared as the future king. But then a strange thing happened. Sana Joba, Sana Yaima, and Sana Tomba. All three of them finished the race together. They were expert riders and all three reached the finish line at the same time. Wow, what a coincidence. All the three sons were expert riders, and you know what? All three of them reached the finish line together. There was great excitement. Look at them, the people shouted. Shagol, Thauba Nupa, such a fine horseman. But one question remained. Who would be the Tungi Ningthou? The Ningthou and Lima turned to their sons. The Ningthou said, Sana Joba, Sana Yaima, and Sana Tomba, you have proved that you are fine horsemen. Do something different, each one of you, so that we can decide who will be Tungi Ningthou. All the people in Kanglipak praised the boys. They praised how fine horsemen they were. The king also praised the boys, but then this time he wanted them to do something different so that it would be easier for everyone to select their future king. Suddenly, Sana Jauba mounted his horse and held his spear straight in front of him. He looked around. There was a hush among people. What is Sana Jauba, the eldest, going to do? They thought to themselves. So now, listening to the king's words, all the three boys thought of doing something different. So the eldest son, Sana Jauba, sat on his horse. He mounted his horse. He held his spear. Spear is a big tool. So he held his spear and he looked around. People were looking here and there in wonder. They were all surprised. They were all thinking, what was Sana Jauba going to do? Sana Jauba then looked at the huge Kongnag standing majestically in the distance. He pierced the tree and jumped his horse right through it. So in order to show how talented he was, he aimed at the banyan tree. Bravo, bravo, the people shouted. Thora, Thora, and then they fell silent. Now it was the turn of the second son, Sana Yaima. What would he do? Sana Yaima too looked at the Kongnag as he mounted his horse. Then he too rode towards the tree, harder and harder. The people watched in silence, afraid even to breathe. When he was really close, he urged his horse to jump. Higher and higher the horse rose until horse and rider jumped clear over the huge tree and landed on the other side in a wonderful motion. Children, I can actually imagine this happening right in front of my eyes. So what did Sana Yaima, the second son, do? He sat on his horse and then he rode towards the banyan tree. Rode is the past tense of ride. So he rode towards the banyan tree at a great speed, and people were so tense that they even were afraid to breathe. So he took a great leap. He jumped over the banyan tree, and it was a wonderful sight. The people breathed in relief and said in unison, Pajay, Pajay! Wonderful, wonderful. And now it was the turn of the youngest son, Sana Tomba. He too rode his horse towards the Kongnag, and before anybody knew what was happening, uprooted it. Triumphantly, he carried the tree to the Ningthou and Lima and laid it at their feet. So what did the youngest son do? The youngest son rode towards the banyan tree and uprooted it. Means he took the banyan tree out of the ground. He uprooted it. And victoriously, triumphantly, he was happy that he won. And then he carried the tree and laid it at the feet of the king and the queen. Shouts of "Twaro, Twaro, Pajay, Pajay" filled the mountains. The people grew restless. Why were the Ningthou and Lima taking so long to make the announcement? So now, after all the three sons had performed, the people were still wondering what were the king and the queen thinking. Why were they taking so long to decide who would be the future king of Kanglipak? They craned their necks to see what was happening. The Ningthou and Lima were watching Sanatombi, their 5-year-old daughter. She looked sad and lonely. She stared at the kongnag which lay dead by the throne. Birds flapped worriedly around, searching for their homes in the tree. Sanatombi walked up to the kongnag and whispered, "The kongnag is dead. It was hurt by the spear and now it is dead." So now, when so much happened, the people actually were wondering and they craned their necks. They moved around their necks to see what was going to happen next. So the king and the queen watched the 5-year-old little daughter. She was sad and lonely, and she was actually upset about the kongnag being dead. The people were all attention. The Ningthou stood up. He looked at the 3 boys. He looked at the little girl. He turned to the people. "If anybody is worthy of becoming the ruler," he said, "it is little Sanatombi." Now what is this? The king actually stunned people with his announcement. He stood there, he looked up at the 3 boys, he looked up at the little girl, and then he thought something, and then he turned to the people to announce that Sanatombi was the most worthy of becoming the ruler. It was she who told us to look at the soul of the kongnag. Sanatombi feels the pain of others. She feels the pain of the people, the animals, the birds, the trees. I declare Sanatombi the future Lima of Kanglipak. The Ningthou said. A silence fell. Everyone turned to look at the little girl, their future queen. There she stood, all of 5 like a small kongnag, with birds flying all around her. They sat on her shoulders and on her head. She held out her hand full of grain, and the birds flapped about her, pecking at the food. A Lima is one who doesn't hurt anybody in the kingdom. So basically, they wanted someone who was empathetic, who was kind, who was thoughtful of the people, of the birds, animals, trees, everything living in Kanglipak. The 3 boys did not show any kindness towards anyone. Rather, Sanatombi proved that she was worthy of becoming the ruler of Kanglipak. So everyone became silent after the announcement. And the lesson that we learn from this is that you should always care for people, no matter what. We should take care of the birds, the animals, all living creatures in and around our surroundings. This is what gave 5-year-old little Sanatombi the place of the queen. She really deserved it. Isn't this a beautiful story, children? It basically teaches us how one should be in their life. And as you read in the beginning, what qualities does a good ruler have? That's all for now, children. I hope you have enjoyed watching the video and learning some new Manipuri words. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.